you're tired of your irrigation pipes looking like spaghetti inside of Ark Survival Evolved, today we're going to fix it and show you guys how to do it successfully. We are going to have all of our crop plots be at 300% effectiveness. What's going on, guys? Jurassic here. Today we're going to be learning how to build a greenhouse inside Ark Survival Evolved. We're going to be showing how to do it on a PvE server. So we're going to start with about 6 to 7 foundations. This is going to be for the main baseline. If you have a water source super close to you, you're good with 6. If you don't, use the 7th one. That way you can place down a reservoir to get your water inside the area. Next up, we're going to place some walls around. We're going to keep the front of it open, but just place the walls along the side here. Snap everything in, and the reservoir is planned to be placed right here on this back foundation. So place everything like so. Next up, we're going to get our triangles. So just run over to the side here and see which way they snap in correctly. Swap over here, use the right one. We want to do the left and right. So the greenhouse effect actually is based on a certain amount of height, so you want to try to get it as close to 300% as possible. Anything higher than 2 foundations high for some reason messes it up. Then we'll have a couple straights here to fill it in. Alright, so the front door, we are going to go with the bigger double door just since it looks nicer. So we'll place this on down like so. Stairs, that way it's easier to get up and down, and this is basically the general design. So we're going to have metal walls all along the back side here. This is where the reservoir is going to sit. That way it just has a little bit extra protection, and you can put a trapdoor around over here. That way the water is just going to flow inside the whole time and it won't affect anything too crazy. So if you guys are having a hard time lining up the ceiling tiles, make sure you have the 2 walls in the back. That way you're actually able to have a snap point, and you should be able to snap them to the wall. And once you do this, now they have a solid foundation, so you shouldn't have to worry about accidentally destroying them. So we'll place that wall down there like so. Alright, so now that we got the general roof on, the easiest way to do this next part is if you fly up to the top of the roof. You can use this with any bird. Now we are going to place a couple straight pipes down. We're on the roof, that way it's a little bit easier to line up, and in third person it's a little bit easier to see where the pipes are actually going to land. So we want to do it roughly around this area here. Try to line it up all the way with the front here, and it'll snap all the way there. That way we can incline down to our water reservoir here in the back. You can either do an incline, or you can do a straight pipe down and use a flexible pipe to connect it. So we're going to see what the straight pipe down looks like first, and then if not, we will do the incline. Alright, straight pipe down, that'll be roughly around in this area. Now if we try to snap down our reservoir, we should be able to see relatively where it's going to land. That looks like it's about perfect to me. It's going to be nice flush inside this building here. We are able to enclose it with the walls however we want to, though. Sort of like so. And since it's halfway sticking out of the wall, it is going to still gather water whenever it starts raining again. Now that we got all that done, we want to drop down a hatch, and as you guys can see, we can still use the water tank if we hop down inside of here just like so. So it is able to gather water. If we have a couple water skins, we'll be able to drop some here in a second. That way we can show that everything is getting water. So the next part is sort of up to you guys how much you actually want to get into it, but if you place a ceiling tile down right here, for example, this is how you line up your water pipes. That way it looks like it's going directly over your crops. So now we want to do basically the same thing we did earlier, trying to line up the pipes best we can. It has a few different snap points like that water reservoir in the back, so now it's going to be a little bit more difficult to place this guy, but it shouldn't be too bad. Unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit off center, just so you guys are aware, but that's going to be basically as close as we're able to get it. So I'll pick up the ceiling and we'll do the same thing on this side. So basically all you have to do is pick up your sloped roofs. We were just using that as like a general layout. Place down our ceiling tile. Now if you're on a server where you can't do that, you want to do the ceiling tile step first. Looks like that's about lined up. Boom, and place one more like so. So now all we have to do is pick up our greenhouse ceiling, place our sloped roofs, and we're good to go in that regard. Want to go ahead and place down our reservoir once again, so it'll just sort of hang out like so. Now, we did all that way the metal pipes had a place for the reservoirs to snap inside the building. So we'll do something like that. So once we have all that done, head on back up to the roof since it'll be a little bit easier to place it, and snap in our sloped roofs again. Alright, so we got all that done. Head back down to the ground floor. So we had 2 walls in the back here that we removed, so we'll go ahead and place these guys down now. And your greenhouse is completed. So now that we created our greenhouse, which crop plots do we actually need to use? So if you want to make mostly majo berries and narco berries, a small crop plot will suffice. They're not actually able to make vegetables, but they're able to do berries just fine. This is also going to hold the least amount of water out of the 3 options. Next up on the list is we have the medium crop plot. It is able to grow regular berries and vegetables as well. Plus, it holds 400 water compared to the 200 water of a small crop plot. And last but not least is the large crop plot. This big guy can hold everything else from all the smaller ones, plus it can do the plant species, X, Y, and Z. So it's not necessarily needed for a garden, and out of the three of them, the medium crop plot is basically the one that you need for majority of the stuff in the game, where the large crop plot is going to be mostly for defensive stuff. So now that we got all that done, we're going to shut the door in here and place down a couple crop plots. You are able to fit 2 or 3 depending on how you want to actually do this. So if we do 2 mediums like this, you have enough room for a small one there if you want, and just sort of stack these on the back here. You'll have a couple extra spaces here, so this is where you can build like a Majo berry farm or narco berries or whatever you want. Just sort of trying to line up the metal. Just sort of trying to line up the wood base with like the little posts there, and that's how you can keep them relatively straight. And all we need now is 2 small crop plots. Now for anything extra fancy, you can also add in some lights and things like that if you want to have things glowing. One other thing I do recommend is getting a dung beetle and having a dinosaur leash. So the dino leash you can actually place anywhere as long as it sees enough sunlight. So we're going to sit here and change it from short to minimum, and we're going to place it as close to the top of our stairs as possible. That way the dung beetle has plenty of room to roam, and this is just in case you accidentally leave the door open and forget about it. Now the dung beetle can only stay inside the right area, so it's not like he's going to wander off and kill himself. Alright, so now that we got all that done, we're going to go ahead and fill up the water tank at the back. If you have a direct water source, it's going to fill up a little bit easier, just so you guys are aware. However, it works just as well with rainwater or water jars. The rainwater will eventually fill it up and maintain it. However, at the start of a greenhouse, you are going to need to do a few extra steps. So to use a water reservoir, all you have to do is click consume on the jars, and it's going to fill up slowly at a time. So see how it says 100 out of 500? Now we haven't actually connected our pipes just quite yet, but we're going to fill up the water reservoir. That way we can show you guys how it looks and everything while it's going through. So we got the taps down and we got the straight pipes down, but we don't actually have a way to connect them just quite yet. So we have all that stuff done, but we haven't actually connected our baseline pipes to each other yet. So this is where the flexible pipes come into play. So from the roof, we're going to line it up, try to get it as close as you can to the metal. That way it just looks a little bit nicer, and we'll have a little bit of an archway there and a little bit of an archway here. Now both sides are going to be fully connected. The water is going to start being used, so we want to hold down inside of the water reservoir and start filling it back up. As you guys can see now, it's back down to 0, so it's definitely distributing to the plants correctly. And from this point on, you can basically just click consume because it should use it automatically. But now you guys can actually see where the water source is actually going through. See, now it's only going through halves. Water is going to slowly get used up from this point, but once we reach the end of the crop plot, water source will be 100% set. Now if you have like a normal rainstorm, it's going to maintain it, since the rain typically lasts long enough to fill up all the crop plots. But for the amount that we placed down, we have 400 in that one, 400, 100, 100. That one has 0, so that one didn't necessarily get it. 400, 200, 400. So to show everything but these back two, everything else is fully topped off, so 1 or 2 more water jars technically would fill it all the way up. This guide took a little bit longer than I was expecting for a PvE greenhouse, so we are going to separate the PvP into its own video. That way you guys can sort of see how to make it a little bit stronger. But if this tutorial helps, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.